Back to doing tomatoes again. Got a whole bunch of flats of these I gotta knock out today. I've already made tomato sauce. I've already made canned salsa. So now what am I gonna make? I am going to ferment these beautiful cherry tomatoes. We have a lot. And so I needed the jars back. So I did my onions and powdered those. And as you can see, it's got some powdered onion in there. Won't be an issue with these tomatoes. And I have my boiling water. So I will be pouring boiling water in here. You see that? All right. And I'll be pouring boiling water in here. And I'm gonna mix it up really good, get it to dissolve in this hot boiling water. And this one as well. The water's still hot, and all the salt is dissolved in the water here. So I'm going to add my spices, and I had made a batch earlier, and I used the fresh basil leaves and the rest of my garlic and all of that. So this is my own experiment, so I hope it turns out. But I used about a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. I used a teaspoon of the basil, and I used a full tablespoon of garlic. So I'm just gonna, and it's all powder, so I don't have a clue how it's really gonna turn out. The others are beautiful in the jar, but I'm just gonna pour this in here. And I'm going to add my, it's low, but real close to a tablespoon here of the garlic. And that's my homemade garlic, guys. Homemade garlic powder. And I couldn't find the garlic that I dehydrated. Otherwise, I'd have just used the dehydrated pieces. But I knew I had the powder here, so I grabbed that. And as far as the salt goes, normally I use pink Himalayan sea salt for everything, but I ran out on that last batch of making my fermented tomatoes, and so I dug out the kosher salt. But it's got a handy dandy pour spout. I gotta say, I do like that. So now I had chopped my onions up. I'm going to put onions in. And those are in there. And let's stir it up. See, it definitely changed the water color. This is an experiment. I'll let you know in about 2 weeks how it tastes. And now all you do is fill the jar to about here, right there, see, with tomatoes. Super easy. Doesn't have to be refrigerated. And till you open it up. So I'm going to fill up to about there. And you probably could go a little higher than that, but you want to take into consideration something that ferments means it might spout out some of the liquid that you've got in here too. And I'll be putting more liquid in this as well. Okay. Tomatoes in it. I'm going to add water, because I want to have enough water in here to ferment it. So, whoa, Susan's making a Susan mess as usual. Spilling water everywhere. Okay, and I'm using pretty hot water there, okay, because I want to have, you know, start the fermenting process, and it's all warm, and I'm gonna get a stick here. So I've got my canning poker thing to get the air bubbles out. Well, what I want to do is make sure I do the same thing here, because I want to make sure everywhere it's not so much the bubbles, but I want to make sure that I've got my saltwater blend and everything blended up well, and the water level doesn't drop too low. So, because I'll have to add more water if that happens. Okay. Yeah, water's just warm. It's not hot at all. So, I think I can add a little bit more water, and it's going to look beautiful even with the powdered herbs in there. See? There's powdered herbs on the side. But, yeah. I'm going to take it about that high for right now. And this, I decided to try something different. And I have had some leftover Anaheim chilies and some poblano chilies that I had chopped up to make bread and put those in there. Rob couldn't find the jalapenos, so it must have been out. But, so I'm going to use some of those chopped up chilies, chopped up onions. I put a little bit of cumin in there. Lots of garlic powder because I ran out of garlic. And have a fermented tomato salsa maybe. So we'll see how that one turns out. And again, same thing. Put enough water in here. And you really want to try to keep all your vegetables lower. So what I do, and it's a neat trick, I have only just received my handy dandy fermenting tops for my mason jars, and but this is the way I normally ferment sauerkraut, and I do it the same way, and it helps to weight all the vegetables down so nothing floats to the top, because when it floats to the top, that's exposed to air and oxygen, and that is what will spoil your food and stuff. So I'm going to keep it submerged, and I'll show you that technique. I'm getting ready to make a brine solution in my water, and I have hot water, so I'm going to pour some more on. Yeah, I can pick up the pan and at least fill it up. I poured this brine solution into my baggie, see? And that way, if this gets a leak, it's not going to dilute the brine, because I have salt water in the baggie here. And now, what I'm going to do is open it up, make sure it covers everything, weights everything down. If I need to add a little bit more water, I can. But that looks like it's going to seal well. So now I'm going to seal the bag. And I have all of my vegetables under that bag. Nothing's going to float up to the top. Stuff it in there like so. You can do it however you want. I'm working one-handed. And then I can add my water. And it's going into the bag. And that is going to keep all my vegetables under that plastic bag. So it works. Water's, you know, the fermenting, it can still bubble out and over the jar if it needs to. But it's that's my weight that's weighting down my vegetables. See? Some with the fermentation kit that I just bought off of Amazon. And it came with 6 lids. And this one here, the gallon one, that's my Italian flavor that I created this morning. And this one here also with the baggie inside. Just lay it like that. We'll let that ferment. Now I gotta set it in a cool, dark place. This was an old Afghan that I cut up, and I sewed the seam on the side. But look, this will keep the tomatoes warm enough, and this one as well. See? So, and these are the fermenting lids that really are nice to have, but not necessary when you're fermenting food. You can use the Ziploc bags, like I did. Put your brine water inside the bag. So if it does get a leak, that water is still salty and going back into your ferment. I've never had one leak before, but I figure better play safe than sorry. And that weights everything down, so you don't have to worry about food coming up and spoiling your ferment. So don't they look pretty? And this is the one with the flip top lid. That's gonna be maybe taste a little bit like salsa. We shall see. Got it all ready for you. I had to bring you back so you could see what happens. The longer it ferments, the softer your tomatoes get, and more of the flavor that comes out and goes to the bottom. The juice comes out of the tomatoes and all that. So honestly, use firm cherry tomatoes and ferment for 7 to 10 days. And then refrigerate. The refrigerating actually will let you have your tomatoes for a longer period of time, the fermented tomatoes. But again, I just had way too many to put in the fridge. So this is why I'm doing this. And but when you put it in the refrigerator, it also slows down the fermenting process. So anyway, I think what I'll end up doing after I blend this one up, I'm just going to pack it up and maybe freeze it and do some dehydrating even at 115 degree like you would for your herbs, so that I keep all the nutrition, as much of the nutrition from the fermented tomatoes in there instead of cooking it out. Because if I heat this up, it takes away from the value of fermenting it. So this one here, I'm going to blend, and we'll have it to spoon on, you know, tacos or whatever. It's got the flavor, but no heat at all to this.